Hey YouTubers, this is Mopar Man 1978. I'm out here working on my truck and I wanted to cover the topic of carburetors and spacer plates. I've got a 1985 318 mildly built motor, aftermarket cam, a little bit above, I guess you could say, an RV cam and whatnot. All the ports have been gasket matched all the way from the intake, the heads, and the exhaust manifolds. But quite a while back I was not running a spacer plate at all, just the carburetor with the gasket, and it drove okay, but I noticed it was kind of a little bit rough idling. I got it tuned out as best I could so it was smooth, but anyway, I started watching all the videos and all the posts on the internet and whatnot, YouTube, and so I thought I would try out this one here, the four-hole spacer plate, the plastic one. That worked fine, but still improved the, especially on cold days, cold nights, it improved the startups, the throttle response, a little bit better horsepower and torque, but still just wasn't quite right, you know, as far as the idle. So I did, like on the videos, you know, why not just put a open 1-inch spacer plate on top of a dual plane intake. I tried that. I started off with the 1/2 inch and worked my way up to this 1 inch. It didn't really work very well when the engine was cold and first starting up, because I have a manual choke on this EDLEBROCK I got here, the 600. Hard to start up in the mornings, whatnot, and then driving down the road with the choke on after it was warmed up somewhat, it would kind of drive okay unless you really got on it, and it would cough and sput, and at first I thought I had fuel issues and whatnot, so I went through and checked everything with a fine-tooth comb. That wasn't it. Anyway, then once the engine got fully warmed up, like driving around town, whatnot, it'd run great. Or it wouldn't, you know, it's like, but anyway, so I was really digging deep on the internet chats and whatnot, and come across one where somebody took a 1-inch 4-hole spacer plate, but you can buy them online, but they're more expensive, or you can take one and modify it yourself. You take a Dremel grinder with the bit. I used a bit to router porcelain with and whatnot, and I ground out these grooves. This one's probably about 13/16 across by 5/16 or 3/8 deep. And then with the gasket on it, it's just a hair above 3/8, whatever. I mean, I've seen them where they go down almost 1/2 inch deep, but I figured I would start out with this first. What I did was I took 2 new 4-hole spacer plate gaskets, and the part where it's got the groove cut out in the spacer plate, I cut those out on the gaskets themselves. Couldn't do it for the bottom gasket because you're going from a dual plane to a 4-hole, so I modified this one to where it fits the quadrajet / thermoquad base, like the intake, so there's no leaks. Anyway, I had to replace the gaskets, but I put this on the other day with a couple used gaskets and drove down the road and noticed a big difference. And basically what it is according to the experts, you have, when the engine's running, you have not tones, but it's pulses because one side is sucking in the air while the other one's really not, vice versa, and they're jumping back and forth. And well, and there's also the whole vacuum thing too, because it's fighting for both sides anyway. By putting that groove on the dyno, they said by putting the cutout groove on the spacer plate on the top, unlike the bottom, it cured that rough, somewhat rough or rough idle, especially in the engines that have a lot of horsepower. Mine doesn't have, mine's just up from stock by 1 notch, not much. But I noticed a big difference the way it starts up again, even with the choke running down the road. Well, even when it's cold, I have to put the choke on maybe halfway to get it fully warmed up before I can push the choke all the way out before it's full out. The throat's all the way open on the carburetor. But anyway, noticed a big difference. Like I said, idling, it's idle smoother now. Throttle response is a lot better. It seems to run down the road. It's a lot stronger than it was. To me, it seemed anyway. But then also, I was also wanting to, I've seen them advertised on Facebook. At first I thought it was just like snake oil or whatnot, but somebody had actually bought one and showed it to me, and they actually work, and they're made in America. They're advertising these things on Facebook. You put these where your accelerator pump nozzle is, where it squirts out the gas, and normally it shoots the gas in a stream, and but supposedly it doesn't atomize the fuel like it should. Well, you take this, take the screws out of the top of this, then you set this down in there like this, and then put the screws back in. And what it does is when that stuff hits the inside of this plate, it turns it into a mist instead of a soak, like a drip. Helps fuel atomize a lot better, and helps with throttle response and better burning. 40 bucks. You get it through these guys here. Thompson Performance. They got them for Hollies, Quadrajets, I don't think they have them for thermoquads, but they got them for EDLEBROCks, about everything else. 40 bucks and whatever, I think it was free shipping, I think, but anyway. So basically, with this gasket on, here like this, and then spacer plate, and then like I said, you have the grooves facing at the top, up top here and here. I made the back ones just a little bit wider because it's for the big secondaries. And then this modified gasket to make sure there are no leaks under the carburetor. Anyway, fits like that. And then once you put the carburetor down, you can see how much of it, sorry the wind's blowing out here, but you can see how much of a gap there is. Underneath. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video.